Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious. Join Carissa and Jenny, ordinary people exploring all the extraordinary ways we can connect to the universe. Each week, they investigate another spiritual modality and adventure through all the wild ways we can find high vibes, hope, and ultimately, enlightenment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of So Guided. Today we are diving into cacao ceremony. You've got questions, so do we. Let's do this.
Hey everybody, welcome. Going to jump into our weekly woo-woo. I will kick it off.
Yeah, you kick it.
All right, so I was away last week and visiting my best friend. She lives in Santa Fe. She's been, I've been friends with her since I've been in fourth grade. And obviously we're on the East Coast and Santa Fe is a very, very different world. It's the desert. We live near the ocean. So planes, trains, and automobiles to get there. A very long trip. I took Fiona. It was a girls' trip, so it was amazing. And while I was there, obviously it's just such a different vibe, such a different environment. And one morning, my friend has a daughter, and so my daughter was with her, and my friend was at the gym, and I was not at the gym. So, no surprise there. So I decided to go get some coffee and go for a little walk. And so I went for a walk, and we were actually at a hotel. And I found myself on a path and in Santa Fe, like it's beautiful, beautiful desert. And there's mountains in the background, and the sky is enormous. And it's just a very breathtaking place. And I decided to try to, get grounded. And before I was going on this trip, I was getting a lot of cards about being grounded. So I knew that was something that I wanted to try to accomplish. And I ended up meandering and found a place where they do the wedding. So it was just a beautiful open spot with breathtaking views. And I can actually post some pics of the breathtaking views. And I stood there and I started taking some deep breaths. And I think not unlike most people, I'm not a big fan of standing. So if I'm going to meditate, I always want to sit. Same. I'm just oh my God, where's a chair? I know it's not good for me, but I wish I was I wish I could sit all the time. But I was standing and I was taking these deep breaths. And I'm not even kidding. I almost felt like I couldn't move. I felt like I was standing and I felt like I had roots on my feet, going down to the core of the earth. And then above me, I just felt like the sky was so massive and I felt so, so connected. And it was one of those things where I could have stood there, I'm not even kidding, for 5 hours. I felt like I could have stood there forever. And it was so amazing. And again, like I said, that's not like me. Normally I'm swaying.
You're dewy and busy.
Yeah, we're busy. Exactly. And so, but I was just so connected and I was like, oh my God. I loved it. And I was even today thinking about what my sign is, I told Jane the story and she's like, share that. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. It's such a sign. Sometimes signs come in different ways. And it just made me feel so connected. It made me feel like I was in exactly the right spot. And so I wanted to share that today as my woo-woo.
I love it. That's awesome. And it is cool to mix up your environments, from ocean to desert. And what does that feel like? I'm kind of looking forward to that when I go to the jungle in a couple weeks. What does that feel like to my insides? To my psyche.
It's so different too. And I felt like in the past, when I've gone other places, I haven't noticed the difference in the vibe. But now I think again, because I'm so aware of it.
We're so in tune now.
I could tell the difference in what the environment does.
I love that.
It felt very expansive. I will say it was grounding and expansive.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that one. Well, mine is also a kind of a new one because I think it's important that we acknowledge that the woo-woo and the signs aren't just seeing an egret and a deer, but there's other things that makes you feel connected. And one of my favorites is just when you're in the zone of feeling the flow of abundance. We've talked about that. It's when there's a lot of synchronicity. I said it the way I wanted. I said it my way. Yeah, I said it my way. But usually it's one thing after another piling up that's wow, things are in my favor. And I had that this week where I outed Brian that he, does the tarot cards in the morning. He had one of super abundance 2 days ago. And then a bunch of things we were waiting for months came through on the same day. We got a lease contract for when we move out. We got the architect final plans. We heard back from someone we were waiting for. He got a bonus out of nowhere that was bigger than what he thought. It was and I was having little synchronicities too. Mine wasn't as exciting as a bonus. But
his is yours.
Yeah, it was mine.
Yeah.
But it was really going that way. And then I took out a really old purse and then walked to the nail salon down the street. And when I got on the way there, I put my hand in the pocket and I had the exact amount of cash in this purse for the tipping I needed for the people that I was about to go in. I'm like, ooh, the abundance is flowing. And then I walk in the door and the owner says, oh, Jenny, I'm so sorry. I overcharged you on your last visit. I'm crediting you $20 today.
No one ever does that. That's amazing.
No, and also what a good store owner, because the last time I was there was like a month and a half ago, so very cool. But nonetheless, this is just an example of how like things flow, and then you acknowledge it, so you like feel grateful, and then more things happen.
Comes. Yes.
Anyway, just feeling the flow. It continues the last couple days, so that's my woo-woo.
That's great. That's great. Well, some cool woo-woos and something even cooler of what are we doing right now, Jenny?
Well, this is funny. You might actually hear what I'm doing right now. I hope you don't. We're actually, in honor of this episode, drinking cacao. I have ceremonial grade cacao, and I have prepared it in the way I'm supposed to for both of us. And we're sipping it while we're talking to you. So we're going to tell you all about cacao ceremonies today. We're going to dig into our experiences, what it does to your body, kind of clarify what it is. But while we're doing this, we're sipping the cacao. So we'll report back at the end to tell you how we feel. They do say it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for the effects to kind of filter through your body. So we're circling back, and while we chat with you, friends, we are sipping our cacao.
Let's tell people what is cacao? Like, what actually is it? Cacao is a tree, and the tree grows these pods, and within these pods are these cacao. Are they pods?
They're pods.
The cow. Okay.
And then they have beans within them.
Okay. And then these beans are used in rituals to basically do ceremonies and to be a heart opener. So I'm going to back up a little bit and let you know like how we got into this. And I feel like we'll be able to share kind of more of what it is within this. Because I feel like if you're like me, you're like, what are you talking about? What is this when I first heard it? So backing up a little bit, Jenny and I both have gone to a cacao ceremony, which is how we like got introduced to this. But how we even ended up at a cacao ceremony is kind of funny because we didn't go together.
No.
So I was actually, years and years ago, pre-kids, we used to watch a show called Portlandia. And one of the clips in Portlandia, if anyone watches it, was about a guy and a girl, and they were using a safe word, and the safe word they picked was cacao. So, and it's like a funny show. It was like hilarious. And in the show, actually, the guy plays the girl and the girl plays the guy. And so it's really funny. And they're talking and like, they're saying like cacao every second as like a safe word. And so Nick and I used to watch that and think it was really funny. And Nick actually started getting into cacao as part of chocolate. And so he used to buy dark chocolate. And the more cacao that's in chocolate, the darker chocolate it is. So from that episode, I swear, he's like, oh, I like cacao. He researched it, thought it was chocolate, or it is chocolate, started like being into it. And I saw that there was a cacao ceremony. I was like, oh, this would be fun to do together. And
You're going to sip hot chocolate?
Yeah, I basically assumed, I assumed we'd learn about dark chocolate. I actually thought it was going to be like a dessert thing where they like serve us different types of chocolate.
That is so not what
I did. Yeah, I totally thought, I'm like, okay, this is going to be cool. Yeah. I'm like, Nick will get like all these dark chocolate things. Like they'll show us the bitterness, the this, the that. So we signed up and I'm like, oh, we're going to go to this cacao like ceremony. It's going to be awesome. So we go to this ceremony and oh my God, this is a couple of years ago. This is like pre anything. And so we go to the ceremony, I don't even know it's a ceremony. We go to this thing and basically we walk in and there's, pillows on the floor. There is a shaman woman basically hosting the ceremony. We all sit and she gives us each a small cup. And within that cup, she pours a little bit of this like powdered substance, which is the cacao. So it was all finely chopped cacao. She adds a little bit of hot water and she basically starts we do a little bit of meditation. She starts talking to us and we start sipping this drink, which does not taste like chocolate. It has the essence or the look of a very thick hot chocolate, but it actually is quite bitter. It is not. Nick's like, where's the candy bar? But as we're sitting there, we're drinking this and she's sharing with us what this actually is. And basically what we learned is that she is a shaman who had been invited down with the Mayan people to be part of ceremonial cacao. And what the ceremonial cacao is basically, it's been these thousands and thousands of years, they've used rituals to take the cacao and basically take it from the tree to like the people. And they have rituals around it, they have prayer around it. There are like celebrations of when the harvest is. And so there's like thousands of years of ritual and appreciation around this plant.
Right. What was really cool too, she said the orchard where these came from, the family went back centuries and it's been passed down. So it's like the same family tending these trees.
Yes.
They're putting their loving energy in every step of the process. And that's a part of the ceremonial cacao that makes it different than also not just the process of making chocolate out of it later. Like, these are only for ceremonial. And it's been passed down for all the generations of the family, which I thought was really cool.
I actually loved that, and it made it feel super special. And she shared, too, that the word cacao comes from the Mayan cacao, meaning heart blood, and chocala, meaning to drink together. So the blood connection of this comes from the belief that the Mayan gods bled into the cacao pods, and cacao was considered one of the ingredients used to create humanity. That in itself, that this was used to create all of humanity. And it's also believed that the gods gifted cacao to the people directly. Right. So it's like something that was given to these people. So the culture around it and the love around it was like really, really cool. And again, like while we're at the ceremony learning this, we're like, wow, this is very different. This is very different than what we expected, but very cool. And as we're sitting there and sipping it, she's sharing that like, this is actually a heart opener of medicine. So it's something that is used to help you feel connected. It is used as like a sacred medicinal ritual where you set an intention. And then once you consume it, you're in like I'm going to say quote unquote euphoric state because it's a very calm, connected, like loving state. It's negative emotions are supposed to be released, and we're supposed to be able to connect ourselves to the loving energy in the body. So it was just an amazing experience. And while, as part of this like ceremony, Nick and I are sitting there and it's very calm and there's a lot of journaling and there was like some card pulling with oracle cards, and like she was like taking us on a journey, and we came out of it in such a way where we're like, wow, we need to learn more about cacao. Like, we want it, like, this is so, so cool. And, of course, I came out of it like, oh, my God, I have to tell Jenny. And she has to go with Brian. Jenny and Brian. So you guys went. And you guys went more recently. So you have, so why don't you tell about kind of your experience, too, of this?
Well, like all these things, this is why you need someone to tell you. I would never have signed up for this one of all the things I could sign up for. Well, and it fell in my lap, too. It was an accident. It's like so... Right. So before I even tell you, it was an amazing experience. But just to clarify, because when I say I love cacao, people are like, are you saying the word cocoa? So just to like clarify, cocoa comes from the same plant and it's the processed version. So cacao is a raw food.
Right.
So when it becomes processed, it actually takes away some of the antioxidants and minerals that are actually naturally in the cacao. So the things that are opening your heart and all of these like superfood goodness things that we're experiencing actually aren't in chocolate. Some of them are. We know like antioxidants and all that. But in any case, in its rawest form, that's why you're feeling the way you feel. So cool. Just so you know.
Well, and I think all the love and the energy put behind the ritual of harvesting it.
So that was like my favorite part is I would like to be more connected to food and thinking about my food. That's not how I live. I just love food. Eat all the food. I don't think about it. But a really big part of the ceremony, as you started out saying, is really honoring this plant. Yes. Where does this plant come from? Who put their hands on it? Right. What was every step of the way? That was a really cool part. She made you send love to each person who touched it.
Yes.
And it was like such a beautiful, like, wow, it took us through the person who even delivered it to her. Yes. Back to the person who packaged it, back to the person who did the final step. And I thought that was really cool to just honor the humans involved, not even just the orchard and the tree and the amazingness around how they created it.
Well, what it reminded me of when she was sharing that was that, how there's been experiments when you talk negatively to a plant or when you talk positively to a plant. If you talk negative or mean to a plant, it will literally like die. Right. And you can talk positive to it. And so it shows how the energy and the vibrations of words and feelings and or how when they say like food made with love tastes better.
That's right.
It really does. And so I think like the cacao that is coming from these orchards, these ritual cacao that have so much behind it, you can like feel the love, and it's all about a heart opener and love. Totally. So I think that's fascinating.
There's something really amazing about all that, and you feel so connected. The idea of oneness is a real big part of this. So I'm connected to Mother Earth and the people that prepared this for me. And that was a definite feeling. So to take you to the room, I was in the same room you were at.
Yeah.
And I don't even think you can express how beautiful the room is. They created it. So it's a very small pod-like room on its own with like wood paneling. And then there's floor to ceiling windows. And it's perfectly made around trees. So again, tree, not my thing. Ocean, my thing. But in this moment, I am one with this fucking tree. It is like literally front and center as if a piece of artwork. So you feel really one with nature while you're doing it. But she does that beautiful preparation, as you said, and like talks you through the orchard and la, 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 la. And you do set an intention. So the word she used is Pachamama. Ooh. That is the word they use for the tree. And the cacao plant is Pachamama. So you ask Pachamama to reveal something to you, and you set your intention. So
that's so good. I remember that.
Mine was, because I was away with Brian, was to feel more connected to Brian by the end of this meditation or journey that we were about to go on. So that was my intention. And then she took us on a wild journey. So it's only later that I realized, I believe she took us on a meditation journey, and I think it was a shamanic journey. So she, through her words, talked us through the mushroom people and the fairy people, but she talked about an underworld, a middle world, and an upper world. And about 20 minutes into this, and she's taking her time with all the pre stuff. Yeah. And she said this is no accident. About 20 minutes in, you start to feel like, ooh, I feel like a little bit warm fuzzy. Yeah. You're starting to feel like the room expands a little bit. Anyway, Brian even reminded me that his favorite part was when we went on this journey, she took us down to the earth, down below the earth to where the lava is and the Kundalini energy. We both later reported to each other, we felt hot, like sweating. He actually said it was so hot he was uncomfortable in the room. Like he felt the heat of the Kundalini.
Yeah, wow.
Which is so crazy.
Like the core of the earth.
And like, my background on Brian too is he's a forensic accountant. This is not a hippie dude.
Right.
And so the fact that he's even opening up to this moment and experiencing something is a lot. At the time, I was like, wow, this is amazing that he's feeling this with me. In any case, so we go to the underworld and we're hot. And then she takes us up through to the middle world and we're introduced to all these. This is when it's kind of funny, and we're hearing about the mushroom people, which makes me laugh. But I will say that at the time, this is funny when you're in those moments. You believe her.
Oh, 100%.
I'm like, oh my God, I see the mushroom people.
Yeah, no, but you do. I don't remember. See, it's so funny. Like I love this, the detail, because I'm like, I don't remember this because it's been so long. But like, you do believe.
So we're like hot. And then like we're going through like the tree of life that goes, which is wild now that I think about it with your woo-woo opening story. She was taking us via portal of a tree of life where the underworld, we went to the roots down to the earth, and then we went through the hollow tree for the middle world and then upper world, and we're connected to the heavens. Yep. When she took us to the heavens, at this point we must be fully feeling the heart opening. We're birds in the sky. And all of a sudden, it was like wind was swooshing over us, and we felt a breeze. And the heat we had felt from the underworld that she had shared with us, it was suddenly like a wind was blowing. Oh my God. And we both felt it. And we talked about it later. So in the moment, I didn't know he felt the same
you guys
wind.
aren't talking to each other during it. You're in your own world. Yeah,
but I knew, I really could feel in that moment, I know when he's into something or not. Like every once in a while, I'd do like the one eye peekaboo, like, is he okay over there?
Yeah, of course.
And I could tell he was totally vibing it with me. And what was so crazy was, I've told you I'm not great at seeing things. So this is the same woman we did a healing with. She's magic, and we've said it. She's so not normal. And I don't know that everyone's ceremony's like this, but she brought us on a journey that we felt through every sense. And the one that, like I said, was the most wild, to go from hot physically to cool in the air and feel light and floating. And I really felt like a bird in the sky. And I had visuals from her. Yeah. And this is very important, this is also FDA approved. It's deemed safe. Yeah. And it's not a psychedelic. It's
not a psychedelic.
So this is a different experience where your heart's opening. So I don't know if it just makes your energy high vibe and that's why you're feeling the way you do. But I think that's a part of it. In any case, while we're flying in the sky, my hands find him. And we start holding hands during it. And I have uncontrollable tears. I am overcome by love for him, how I feel for him. And I had like a message that was, you need to love him softer. You have to love him greater. And we have a great marriage and a relationship, but like I was given these like insights, and I won't share them all, but they were really like to less be in judgment of your partner.
Oh,
it was like release. I think
like-
one of the words was release judgment. And I felt a release, and I felt so loving towards him that I had uncontrollable.
Wait, now were you
like
physically found him in the room with your eyes
Yes.
closed, or like in your vision?
No, both.
So he reached out too at the same.
Yes.
Wow.
So we're side by side, cross-legged in her meditation she's taking us to. When I have this overwhelming moment, with my eyes closed meditating, I just put my left hand out and he's on that other side of me. He finds my hand and we like hold it in the midair because we were birds.
Yeah.
It was
While
like
you're
wings.
flying.
Like our wings were holding. And so in my visual, we were holding. And in life, we found each other. And she later said, like, she's never seen anything like it. And it was like the sweetest thing she ever saw. She actually told Brian that later when he was in something else with her. But it really was one of the sweetest moments. This woman took us on a journey. And the cacao was the catalyst that let us do it. And it was so special. Like, you walked out and, like, we felt so connected and loving. And like I said, that's when we checked in and I found out that he felt the heat in the air.
Yeah.
And, like, we had a simultaneous experience, which is something on its own.
Oh, amazing.
And when I did look at stuff for, preparing for this episode, I actually read the more people that are in the ceremony, the better, because it's raising the oneness vibration.
Ooh.
So the more people, the more it energetically rises.
Oh my God.
So I have to tell you, this was a small setting. It was her, someone she was training, and Brian and I, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it really makes me want a larger group because it was saying that there's like almost a oneness vibration raised when you do it. Right?
Yes.
Doesn't
yes,
that make sense?
Well,
how it's exponential.
Yeah, yeah. And as something that's supposed to be like a heart opener, I feel like when they say heart opener, it's like, well, what does that even mean? But I think to me, that does mean it's like it's opening like your connectedness. It's opening like you're like, yes, to divine, to other people, to realizing that we're all like in this together and we're all one. So I feel like that's exactly what it's trying to, and even like your downloads when you're getting it, like the less judgment, and like that is such a universal thing that all people do. It's not about like marriage, you know what I'm saying? But to have like that, like that's such a connected download to hear and to be reminded, especially when you're in that space of letting go of negative thoughts. Because it says it's supposed to let you go of negative thoughts, bring in the positive love, and it's like exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. And it was like, this is something, and I don't, the reason I keep stressing it, both our husbands are these guys that are unfortunately or fortunately on our journey with us, but they're not into this, and we like drag them to do this stuff. So when they have reactions, it for me is a part of my evidence collecting. Like, here's this guy who likes spreadsheets and, what he knows in the world. And I watched him become more open, and like he was so into it. Like, honestly, it was wild to watch him opening up. Obviously, I'm going to be into anything, but like for us to connect anyway, it was
I
love
that. I love it. Well, and that's like how I felt too. Like when I was there with Nick, it was so moving and it was so just relaxing too in a way that you were able to access like thoughts. And one of the things that we talk about too is always having like a busy brain and like constantly like thoughts. Like when I was like in this, I just felt so in the moment, so present, which I think is like also another thing that allows you to be open. And I feel like that's like the cacao, and that's like the love that's put into the cacao. And one of the things too that she had said that I liked, it's that like it's all about having you to get an inner journey deep into the emotional center of your body, which is why it's a heart opener, which I feel like is so cool because she brought you to like the center of the earth and you could feel the different stages because like it's almost like inside of you they say we're all stars, we're all earth, we're all everything. Like I just think it all flows together. And it's so
and when you're in it, I think there's something too about like as an adult letting someone lead you somewhere, like just to say I'm releasing control and I'm going with this moment. I think the setting of this place we went to allowed it in advance, right? Like, so you're like at a place where you're like, all right, I'm going there. We're going woo-woo. But to say, all right, woman, I'm going to trust you. And I'm also going to just believe in this at this present moment. And then you go with it. And it just allows this crazy expansive experience. But you and I were both like, I mean, I called you right after and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. It was insane. So we were prompted, and this is really funny. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm taking it a step too far, guys, sharing this, but like we were driving home from this experience and Brian's like, we got to find this ceremonial cacao. Like we've got to find it. So on our drive home, I am Googling best ceremonial cacao and ordered it on the spot. And now, and this is really sweet because it carries over my intention in something I would never think. Brian can't meditate. He's tried. He's like, I've given up on him. But we ordered the ceremonial cacao. I did my research of how you do
Yeah.
it at home.
Yeah.
And once a week on Saturday or Sunday, whatever day we can have an hour together, we have a cacao date once a week.
Oh my God.
And
so good.
it is like so cool. This is something that we've carried into our life. So that's why I have the cacao to make you this morning. We save it for once a week. We do it, and then we meditate like 30 minutes
do it together?
later. And he actually, this is really funny because I could go on a bunch of meditation journeys. He loved that experience so much that the meditations he Googles and we look up for are shamanic journeys. He likes to be on the visual, like take him to a tree of life.
Oh, I like that.
He likes to go
I do
meet
too.
animals. He's like, he loves the spirit animal one. So
I'm the same way.
Right.
You can visualize it and you feel like you're going.
Oh my
and
gosh,
again,
it's amazing. But like, I mean, this is going to be a tangent, but I may or may not have shared one of the ones we did the other day. I feel like I sound certifiably insane this morning, but
okay, we're doing a cacao.
Okay, whatever. The cacao's kicking in. Because I'm sharing my heart.
Do it. Your heart opener. People need to hear it.
So this was one of the spirit ones we did. And honestly, here, my disclaimer is, every other one, he's like, I didn't feel anything and I didn't see anything. Okay. But we feel the vibes.
Well, yeah, you feel good. And you feel
the
relaxed,
grounding.
right?
Okay.
It's still, yeah.
All right. So like I said, because I meditate so I could pick my meditations, I always let him pick it. And he picks the funniest shit. Like, and I'm like, all right, I'm on your journey with you. And we hit play at the same moment in our earbuds so that we're together while
okay,
we're
I like
doing
that.
it.
I like that. Okay.
A lot of them we all find on Insight Timer, and I'm gonna share some of the journeys we've gone on. But one of them was to meet your spirit animal. So you're taken through a journey, and we end up meeting our spirit animals. Again, if I ever find myself visualizing, I'm like, this is a good one.
Right,
I even in the moment, I'm like,
proud,
I'm visualizing. So I meet a peacock, and I have never been like attached to peacocks. And then like the meditation's taking me to like, what is this animal telling you? And mine was, and this was actually right before we went live with our podcast, the peacock was there to tell me to be brave and let your feathers shine. Like, show your feathers, open them up, let everything out. And that was this peacock's message to me. And then the peacock turned from the regular full colored one to all white.
Ooh.
And I knew that in my journey spiritually, that I was going to be one with, like, white to me was divine at that. Once I was open enough with the world about everything I needed to share, then my spiritual journey would take me to the next level. Like, this was all in this. Then I'm like, there's no way Brian's having such as good of an experience as me. And it wasn't true. He had a turtle he met. And the turtle had a message for him. And I forgot what it was, but it was something that wasn't what you think a turtle would say. And it was so specific. It was like,
oh my God, I'm like dying to know
like
what it is.
Slow and steady. And the investments you're making, like, aren't immediate. So this was an experience that, like, yes, we went to a ceremony where a shaman led it, which is my number one choice for you if you're ever considering it.
You might try it.
But how cool it is that we were able to take it home and try it on our own as well. So
and you're doing it the right way, too, because you're doing it together. You're doing it with somebody, and you're setting an intention. You're meditating through it. You're appreciating it. I think that's awesome. And I think that is such a good story, too, because I know you, and you've never mentioned a peacock. If you saw an egret, different story.
Like, Jenny.
We get it, Jenny. But like the freaking peacock is so good. And I love even the message you got from going from color to white. It's so
like, where would that come from? I love it. Also, what was really funny is I know my ego's involved because I try to manipulate things.
Of course, yeah.
So when I knew that she was going to introduce me to whatever my spirit animal was, and we're like going through the woods to a clearing to like a path, and I'm like, oh yeah, I get to see my egret. Like, I'm waiting for the egret.
Yeah.
And the peacock found his way to me, and I let go. It was wild. So thank you, Cacao. It definitely does something. The connection, the vibration, whatever it's doing, I'm in. I'm here for it.
Yeah, and I would 100% like recommend anyone to try it because as you mentioned before, it's like it's a safe. It's almost like they say it's like a cousin of caffeine, but instead of like making you jittery, it kind of makes you open. And to me, in a weird way, it's almost like drinking like a really like good tea.
Yes.
You know, it's like that calming, but like with more.
Yep. It's like the tea plus some woo-woo.
Yeah. It's
like you can like, I mean, let's just call it the woo-woo because it's not a psychedelic. It's not a drug. You're not tripping. None of these things are happening, and yet it really opens you up. I mean, the physical thing we know scientifically, biologically, it is the blood's flowing to your heart.
Well, that's what it is. It does.
Truly doing
that's
that.
Like the caffeine
and it
cousin.
does. And then the partial side effect of that is it's releasing serotonin. So you do have a serotonin surge.
Yeah, so there is like a scientific
So there is something that's happening, but I think it's so clear. Like, there's nothing weird. people actually do not, when you do a ceremonial cacao dosage, it's high. But a lot of people are taking this daily in the morning, and it would be like 1/8 of what I just made.
Oh, just like having a little as like a coffee or something.
Right,
Like,
and it's supposed to be even better because you're not getting the stimulated, jittery vibes of caffeine.
I don't get any caffeine.
Right, it's actually the opposite. Actually,
it like awakens you with the calm vibe.
So just to like expand upon this for our friends, how do you feel right now? Like what's your like vibes right now? Because now you've had it like 30 minutes ago. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling super grounded, but super alert.
Yeah.
If you like, right? Like I feel like I know what's going on. I'm super like, I don't feel like weird in any way, but I feel like comfortable. I could sit and chat with you all day, but also like awake and alert and like just, I feel great. I feel really good on that. I feel present. I don't feel like worried. I'm just kind of like in like the zone. I feel like I'm in the flow. How do you feel?
Same. I think one of my favorites is the grounding because I'm often not, like my feet don't ever feel like they're on the ground.
Right.
Like we always seek to find grounding.
Yeah.
Your word that I've stolen is soft. I feel smooth. My edges are smoothed out.
Yeah.
That's why, like, all right, when you actually sip it, it's like this smooth, thick elixir down. And I actually feel like my whole body is like just smoothed out. Like
that's
the raw edges of my energy that's usually like agita, anxiety of what's next, I'm smoothed out.
Yeah.
So that it smooths me. I feel soft and I feel grounded. And I feel like if a loud noise happened outside the window right now, I wouldn't like react to it as strong as the normal. Like I don't know, you feel gentler, softer.
You do feel, 100%. Again, I feel like they say it's like it's the connected to earth, it's connected to spirit, it's all the connection. Yeah. And I do feel like I'm having that. You know, so while you're alert and while you're grounded, you also feel like you're connected to the divine in some way.
I know,
right?
I know, and it is like
to the universe.
It's the serious like pushing the envelope of we're woo woo right now, but it really is. You're one with something, and to circle back to where it comes from. Like, wait, what was the number you researched of how long ago it dates back to where they've like found
5,300 years ago?
So this is something like,
and that's when they were like domesticating it, like using it for ritual, so over 5,000 years ago.
That to me is super special as far as oneness and being a part of something. And the fact that it instinctually, people were using this in ceremony, in like, they said they used it in like marriage ceremonies and religious ceremonies.
And like funerals and for fertility. Like they used it in any sort of celebration and also in any sort of like mourning. Like they used it in all sorts of ways to like connect.
And we're doing the same thing, like and then when we were with that woman, we knew because she sourced directly from the special orchard.
And she had
gone
physically
there.
been there.
And we knew that it had been passed down and shared from family to family to family to family. What like a cool connection to earth. And I guess my new word, Pachamama, I didn't know. I love that.
Well,
Isn't
that's
that
so
cute?
Well, and you know what I like too is like we talk about the woo-woo and it's real, but then there's also, you know, like the science, which you said, it's like the woo-woo, it's like this, I like when everything melted together. And the scientific name for it is actually theobroma. And that means food of the gods. So even the science name is food of the gods, which I think is,
I like it.
And the Mayans believe it's the key ingredient restoring balance and connection to the divine. So the balance too, I feel like it's something I don't often think about. And I don't use that word a lot, but even hearing it, how I feel grounded, but also connected.
Right.
It's like that balance.
I'm totally with you.
So,
but also in like the ancient stuff is where they found it across the globe being used. So like, instinctually, people who didn't get a message that down in Mexico they found a cool cacao bean. Like people found it and were drawn to it. Not unlike like the pyramids where it's like otherworldly how they created the temples in a similar alignment. It's all a part of the story, and you have the ability to actually connect to something ancient.
Right.
You actually sip something ancient.
Right. And isn't it crazy though that we'd never even heard of it? How steeped in tradition this is.
Right.
How thousands of years ago is. How it's the food of the gods. How people like how Mayans like actually believe in the ritual around it and love. And like I thought I was going to a chocolate ceremony. Do you know what I'm saying? And we like eat it every day and think like, oh, this is gonna be dark chocolate because it's got more cacao.
No.
When there's like if prepared slightly differently, it can open your heart and connect you to one. So
cool.
I don't know. It's so cool. I love that you and Brian purchased it and drink it. You researched it. We can share Jenny's favorite type. If you guys want to try it at home, again, we do recommend like the
find one near you. Yeah, and you actually, this is the crazy thing that we've learned when we start to research things for our show is these events are happening around you. You just didn't know it. So if you just look in your area for a cacao ceremony, And I will say, I don't know when we'll have the balls to do it. We talked about maybe doing a small group one here.
Yeah.
So I'm putting that out in the universe that one day we're going to do it.
We will.
If you're local, anywhere near Boston area, let us know, because I am considering that maybe we could do one together. I want to try it with friends.
Well, it's so funny because you and I are always like selling people on it.
Yeah.
Like when we're like, how have we not done a podcast on it? Because we're always telling people about the experience and the ceremony that we did. And so now we're glad to share it to more people, and hopefully people can enjoy and see what we're talking about.
Totally.
Well, everyone, I hope you liked learning a little bit about cacao, the cacao ceremony. Try it. Let us know what you think. We're believers in this one. We like it. Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories.
You could follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.